Summary of The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. Introduction. There is a central problem in understanding trauma. We often ask why survivors can't just get over it. We treat trauma as an event that happened in the past. But for millions of people, the past remains intensely alive in the present, manifesting as flashbacks, nightmares, chronic pain, and uncontrollable rage. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, a pioneer in traumatic stress studies, points out that trauma is not the memory of a bad event. It is the imprint left by that experience on mind, brain, and body. He theorizes that the body's survival mechanisms, which were activated during the trauma, never received the all-clear signal. They are stuck in a state of high alert, and the body continues to re-experience the event as if it is happening right now. The Body Keeps the Score is his attempt to unify decades of research from neuroscience, psychology, and body-centered therapies to provide a new blueprint for healing. And we will explore his findings through the course of this summary. Chapter 1. Part 1. The Rediscovery of Trauma. This first part of the book chronicles the journey of how medicine and psychology came to recognize trauma. It begins with lessons from Vietnam veterans. When soldiers returned from the war, they were plagued by nightmares, flashbacks, and rage. Clinicians realized this was not a sign of weakness, but a profound psychological injury. Van der Kolk explains that our culture often maintains a culture of denial about trauma. It is easier to blame the victim than to confront the reality of abuse or violence. He shows that trauma is one of the most common and most ignored public health issues of our time. Trauma is not exclusive to soldiers. It is found in the lives of those who have experienced abuse, neglect, accidents, or assault. The core of this discovery is that trauma is not just a story, but a reorganization of perception. The mind and body become stuck in the past. Chapter 2. Part 2. This is your brain on trauma. This section explains the neuroscience of survival. Van der Kolk presents a critical model, the smoke detector and the watchtower. The amygdala is the brain's smoke detector. It is a primitive, non-verbal part of the brain whose only job is to sense danger. When it smells smoke, it triggers the body's entire alarm system, the fight-or-flight response, flooding the body with stress hormones. The prefrontal cortex, PFC, is the watchtower. This is the rational, modern part of your brain. Its job is to look at the smoke detector and say, "Calm down, that's not a fire. You just burned the toast." In a healthy brain, the watchtower can turn off the alarm. But here is what happens during a traumatic event. The alarm from the smoke detector is so overwhelming that the watchtower shuts down. The rational, thinking part of the brain goes offline. This is why people cannot think their way out of trauma. The body is in pure survival mode. If fight or flight is impossible, the body resorts to its last-ditch survival mechanism, freeze or collapse. This state of immobilization and powerlessness is the very essence of trauma. The event ends, but the smoke detector never gets the all-clear signal. It remains on high alert, forever scanning the present for triggers. Chapter 3. Part 3. The Minds of Children. 005-10. Part 3 explores developmental trauma, which is the impact of abuse and neglect on a growing child. Van der Kolk argues that our most powerful protection against threat is our attachment bonds. A child's sense of safety is regulated by their caregiver. But what happens when the source of comfort, the caregiver, is also the source of danger? This is the terrible paradox of developmental trauma. The child's brain, which is still developing, adapts to this state of constant threat. it rewires itself for survival. These children may grow up with a compromised smoke detector, either stuck on, hypervigilant, anxious, reactive, or stuck on off, numb, disconnected, dissociated. This profoundly impacts their future ability to form healthy relationships, focus, and feel safe in the world. Chapter 4, Part 4, The Imprint of Trauma. This section details exactly how the body keeps the score. When trauma remains unresolved, the body continues to secrete stress hormones, replaying the defensive movements and emotional responses of the past. This imprint manifests in two main ways. First, through memory. Traumatic memory is not a coherent story, like a normal memory. It is stored as fragmented, nonverbal sensations, terrifying images, sounds, smells, and physical feelings. This is why a trigger in the present doesn't remind the survivor of the past. It makes them re-experience the trauma as if it is happening all over again. This is a flashback. Second, through the body itself. To survive the unbearable sensations, the brain learns to shut them off. This is called depersonalization or dissociation. Survivors describe feeling numb, disconnected, or as if they are watching their life from outside their own body. They become experts at ignoring their gut feelings. The devastating side effect is that in numbing the pain, they also numb their capacity for joy, connection, and feeling alive. This chronic 24/7 state of internal stress leads to a cascade of physical illnesses, including chronic pain, fibromyalgia, migraines, and autoimmune diseases. Chapter 5, Part 5, Paths to Recovery. The final and most hopeful part of the book explores healing. Van der Kolk argues that traditional top-down talk therapy, while valuable, is often insufficient on its own. You cannot talk the primitive smoke detector, amygdala, into turning off. True healing, he states, must be bottom-up. It must involve the body. The goal is to allow the body to have experiences that viscerally contradict the helplessness and terror of the trauma. The survivor must regain a sense of physical safety in their own skin. Van der Kolk highlights several key bottom-up therapies. First, yoga and mindfulness. Yoga is not about exercise. It is a way of befriending the body. It teaches survivors to safely observe and tolerate their internal physical sensations. They learn that discomfort is temporary and that they can remain in control. Second, EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. This therapy uses bilateral stimulation, like side-to-side eye movements, while recalling a traumatic memory. This process seems to mimic the processing state of REM sleep. It helps the brain unstick the memory, finally filing it away as an event that is in the past, rather than something that is always happening in the present. Third, neurofeedback. Trauma can get the brain stuck in rigid brainwave patterns of hyperarousal or numbness. Neurofeedback uses sensors to show a person their own brain activity in real time, allowing them to train their brain to shift from these stuck states into a state of calm and focus. Finally, communal rhythms and theater. Trauma is an experience of profound isolation. Healing happens in safe relationships. Activities like theater, choirs, or drumming help survivors rebuild social bonds and a sense of synchrony with others, which is a non-verbal way of rebuilding safety and connection. Final summary. The Body Keeps the Score reveals that trauma is a physical injury, not a life sentence. It demonstrates that we have the power to heal by understanding that our bodies, not just our minds, must be part of the recovery. Van der Kolk's work shows that by restoring a sense of inner safety, we can reclaim ownership of our bodies and our lives. We can move from being prisoners of the past to being fully engaged in the present.
Thanks for listening. If you found this summary valuable, please like, subscribe, and comment with your thoughts. To support the channel, all links are in the description.